Okay, I have to ask you something. Do you love cozy mysteries that are clever, a little quirky, and have just the right amount of humor? Because tonight's guest does exactly that, and I am so excited to introduce her to you. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another ReaderCrate interview. If we haven't met yet, I'm Alyssa Granlund. I'm the founder of ReaderCrate, and I'm a fellow cozy mystery author and reader. And every month inside a Reader Crate, we send out a curated mystery crate filled with books and goodies that are cozy to create kind of that perfect reading experience. And one of my favorite things is to introduce you to incredible authors. And tonight is no exception. So today we're going to be joined by Lois Winston. And Lois is a USA Today, Amazon best-selling, award-winning author. And she writes across multiple genres, including mystery, romance, and women's fiction. Now, she's best known for her Anastasia Pollack crafting mysteries, which combine humor and mystery and a wonderful, unique creative twist, which I love. And a fun fact, before becoming a novelist, Lois was an award-winning craft and needlework designer. I did a little snooping. And she even worked as a literary agent, which I find really especially interesting as well. So let's welcome everybody. Let's welcome everyone. Please welcome Lois. We're so happy to have you here tonight.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks. So we're going to get to know you a little bit. And so I want to know a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning. So, because your background is pretty interesting. So, how did you go from the craft world into writing novels?
It sounds like a cliche, but it was all because of a dream. I was working a trade show. I don't even remember what city I was in because when you work a lot of trade shows, you get to see a lot of airports and convention centers and hotels, and that's about it. I just woke up from a dream one night, and I'm not somebody who usually remembers my dreams. So that in itself was very odd that I woke up and I remembered this dream. The second thing that was odd was the dream was about nobody that I knew. Um, you know, no friends, no relatives, just total strangers. And then the third thing that was really weird was that the dream kept unfolding for the next few nights, like the chapter of a book. So when I got home and I was still dreaming this dream and it was still unfolding, I decided, well, this is crazy. I'm going to write this down just to get it out of my system. The next thing I knew, I had a 50,000 word romance that spanned 35 years. I thought I had written the great American novel. I had no idea that I'd written the great American drivel until I started sending it out to literary agents, and the rejection letters kept coming into my mailbox. This was back way before email, when you still sent out printed copies of things and you got your answers in the mail. And that's how it all started. I found that I really enjoyed writing. I had never, wanted to be an author when I was young. I've seen interviews by a lot of other authors who say that, they always wanted to write stories. I was the furthest thing from my mind. But I really enjoyed writing, and I figured I'd set out to learn to do find out what I was doing wrong and learn how to write right. So I went out to Barnes & Noble and my local library, and I armed myself with lots of books, and I started doing research. And I eventually finished a book and got an agent, and the rest is history.
Oh, that's great.
My first book came out almost to the day, 10 years after I had that dream.
Wow. Wow. And did you self-publish or did you actually do regular
No,
publishing?
I was traditionally published. I had an agent. I had a contract for 2 books. My first book actually was called Talk Gertie to Me. It was during the time when chick lit was very popular. And it was about this young woman who lives in Iowa and takes off for New York City, and the mother who comes after her to drag her home to marry the boy next door. And that was my first sale. And then my second book that we sold was Love Lies and a Double Shot of Deception, which was a romantic suspense, which was actually the first book that I wrote way back when that was unpublishable. And I had spent 10 years learning how to write and reworking this, and it became my second sale. And then about a few years after that, my agent was having lunch with an editor who was looking for a cozy mystery series with a crafting theme. And she called me after she had this lunch and she said, "Have you ever considered writing cozy mysteries?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, I think that you should, because I know somebody who is looking for one. She wants a humorous, cozy mystery series with a crafting theme, and you have a crafting background, and I know you can write humor because your first book was very humorous, so give it a try." And I tried, and I enjoyed writing it. I found that I really enjoyed writing in first person. Most of my other books had been third person. And it took a while for the book to sell because, unfortunately, the editor who had asked for the book and really loved it, the publishing house was in the process of being sold to a conglomerate, and all contracts were on hold. When the sale of the publishing house went through, the first thing they did was close the Cozy Mystery line. So the editor who wanted the book couldn't buy it, and it took a couple of years after that before we finally sold it to another publisher. I got a 3-book contract for the first 3 books in my Anastasia Pollack crafting mystery series, and after 3 books, the publisher wanted to renegotiate the contracts and wanted to put in all kinds of clauses that raised a lot of red flags. And my agent said, "I think you should indie publish these." And that's what I did. She helped me in the beginning, and I entered the world of indie publishing at that point, and I've never looked back.
Good for you. Now, did you say your first book took place in was a girl from Iowa?
Yeah, it's a girl from Iowa who goes to New York for her career.
Okay.
And her mother is not happy about this and wants her to come back to Iowa.
Well, it's really funny because I can see we just had a hello from Alyssa, who I know. She's one of my members in ReaderCrate, and Alyssa is from Iowa, so I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. So hi, Alyssa.
Hi, Alyssa.
Well, great. Okay, so Anastasia, let's talk about her because that series is such a fun concept. I mean, crafts and mystery all together. So, I mean, obviously I can kind of imagine, but what, they asked for it, but how did you come up with her? How did you come up with her character?
Okay, well, as I said, I did a lot of research, and one of the things that I did was I got a lot of cozy mysteries to read, especially crafting cozies, because I really didn't know much about cozy and amateur sleuth mysteries at that point. I was never a Nancy Drew reader. I was a Cherry Ames girl. So I wasn't someone who was really versed in the genre, other than the fact that I did watch Murder, She Wrote when it was on. So I started reading a lot of cozy mysteries, especially crafting themed ones. The first thing I realized was they were all series that involved either a shop owner or a crafter or a group of women who were in a scrapbook club or a quilting bee club or something like that. I didn't want to compete with everything that's out there. So the first thing I decided was, why don't I make Anastasia the editor of a the crafts editor of a women's magazine. I did a lot of freelance work for craft magazines and women's magazines, and I knew the industry, and I thought, well, this is something that, um, not no one else had done. So that was how I came up with who Anastasia would be, and it also enabled me to feature a different craft in each book, which was
Mm.
also something that was different from what everybody else was doing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I came up with the series, and I actually came up with the title first. I burnt my finger on my glue gun one day. My husband came home and said, "How was your day?" And I said, "I was assaulted by my glue gun." And all of a sudden, I thought, "Hey, wait a minute, that's a great title."
That's really awesome. I'm holding up your book here, Assault with a Deadly Glue Gun. So this was book one.
Yes,
This is
that
what
was book
started it
one.
off. Yeah, that's awesome. That is so funny. That is a great title. I mean, it's so funny. Well, Alyssa's asking what's your favorite type of crafts to do?
I'm partial to needle crafts. I always love doing counted cross stitch. I've done other fabric crafts. I've done some hard crafts as well, but generally, what I've really gravitated to has always been fabric crafts and needle crafts.
Okay. Well, so your books have quite a bit of sense of humor in there. There's humor in them. So how do you balance that humor with the suspense?
When I'm writing, I just kind of think about how I would react to something. And I have always thought that laughter is the best medicine. You can either cry or you can laugh at something. And I'd rather laugh at myself than curl up in a ball and put the quilt over my head and bemoan my fate. So
Hmm.
I imbued Anastasia with that same kind of attitude towards life.
That's great. It's fun. So now I think I probably know the answer here, but are you a plotter or a pantser? And I'm imagining that your first book was a pantser, and then
And all of my books are pantsers.
they are okay.
I have tried to plot, and I found that when I plot, I get bored because I know what's going to happen, and then I don't want to write the book. So I'm definitely a pantser through and through.
Oh
I,
my
I
gosh.
I will come up with an idea, and maybe I'll write a couple of sentences just to get myself started in the direction that I want to go. But other than that, it's by the seat of my pants the entire way. And sometimes I write myself into corners, and I have to write myself out of the corner. But it's my process.
Yeah. And do you always know who the villain is, or is that part of the surprise for you too?
Not always. I mean, there have been times when I have been halfway through a book and I thought I knew who my villain was, and it turned out that that villain wanted to be a red herring, and there was a red herring that wanted to be the villain.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. That's awesome. So, have you ever had a real life moment where you thought this is definitely going in the book?
All the time. I get most of my ideas from things that I've seen on the news or read about in the newspaper or seen in a news show. I'm a real news junkie. I'm a newsaholic.
Okay.
And there's so much going on in the world right now.
Mhm.
It's kind of hard not to be influenced by it. I I'll show you right here. This is my most recent book, um, which
Embroidered lies and alibis.
yes,
Oh,
came out in February, and the I employ the themes of cryptocurrency and elder scamming,
mm,
and things that you pick up and you read in the newspaper all the time, and that's the plot of this new book. So I just about every book that I've written has been influenced by something that I've seen or heard or read about.
That's awesome. You know, it's funny you held up that book because the crate that you're in, the theme is called Art and Alibis.
Oh,
And
okay.
everyone's got a creative side and something to hide.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so that's the theme for the crate. So for June, which you're in. So I'm super excited. This is perfect, perfect fit.
That's
Well,
cool.
okay. So for readers or really for aspiring writers watching, what is one piece of advice you wish you had earlier in your journey?
I don't have much patience. I've always said that when God was handing out patience, I was too impatient to wait in line. And when I decided that I wanted to write and I wanted to be a published author, I really thought that, it wouldn't take that long. I had no idea that it would take 10 years. I had no idea that it's a marathon and not a sprint. I didn't know anything about the publishing industry other than I knew the craft book side and the magazine side of publishing, but not fiction. And I was very impatient and I made mistakes because I was impatient. So I would say to anyone, take your time, learn your craft, learn what to do, how to do it, and just to have patience because it will help you in the long run.
Good advice. All right. So if you could step into one of your books for a day, would you?
Um, that's a very interesting question. I have never come across a dead body. I'm not sure how I would react if I came across a dead body. I'm sure I wouldn't react as well as Anastasia reacts, but I would hope that maybe I've learned something from her and I would be able to handle it okay. Um, um, I would love to meet Anastasia in real life and meet Zach and everybody else, other than her mother-in-law, because here's a little secret. Anastasia's mother-in-law, the communist, the curmudgeonly communist, is based on my mother-in-law, who was a curmudgeonly communist.
Ooh.
So I've already been there and done that one.
Yeah. So you've got the t-shirt.
Yes, and the scars.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's not fun.
Yeah, don't get
Well,
mad.
so
Write a book and get even.
isn't that true? Can kill them off.
Right. Well, I haven't killed her off yet because although I do have some readers who would like me to kill her off, most of my readers think that she's the character they love to hate.
Yeah.
So the last couple of books, she's kind of been in hiatus to give people a rest from her, but she may come back at some point.
Well, sure. There's got to be some drama, right?
Right.
Well, what are you working on right now?
Right now, I am working on the 16th book in the series. It is tentatively called, what did I decide to call it? I hate when I'm put on a spot like this because my mind just kind of goes blah.
Oh, I know.
I'm calling it A Crafter's Guide to Malice and Murder.
Ooh, that sounds ominous.
And I decided that one of the things that I like about setting my series in New Jersey is that it's a small state and in a very short period of time, you can be in Philadelphia, in Manhattan, up in the mountains, down the shore. It's only a quick train ride to Washington, D.C. So Anastasia can go to places where she can trip over other dead bodies, not just only in her small, the suburban town that she lives in, to avoid Cabot Cove syndrome, basically. So the
Mhm.
last few books took place in the town where she lives, And I decided with this book, it was time to have them go somewhere else. So I'm sending them to upstate New York to a ski lodge for Thanksgiving. And of course, there will be dead bodies.
Oh, yeah. And is there a craft involved in this one?
I am thinking about doing, there's a craft involved in all of them, but I'm thinking about doing a Thanksgiving craft for this one.
Okay. Well, that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing that and hearing about that. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your writing process. When you sit down to write, what does that process look like?
Well, when I sit down at the computer every morning, the first thing I do is check my email. And that takes about an hour usually to
Yeah.
answer all the emails that came in overnight. Then I get myself a cup of coffee and then I sit down to write. I don't set an exact time that I'm going to write all day or a number of words. I try to do at least 1,000 words a day. Sometimes I do more, sometimes I do less. Sometimes I don't write at all. I mean, sometimes I get very frustrated and I know I just am trying too hard and I need to step away from the computer and go do something else. So I don't have a set routine every day that I follow. I know that there are some authors that do. They set a timer and they, write for X number of hours. And when the timer goes off, no matter where they are in the scene, they stop writing.
Mm-hmm.
Other writers can sit all day and write. I find that if I sit too long, I get very stiff. So I always get up and I take a break in the morning. I hop on the treadmill for a half an hour, and then in the afternoon, I do the same thing. Otherwise, I would probably not be able to move at the end of the day.
Mm. Well, and when you're walking, I'm sure you get a lot of ideas that come to you too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I also use that time to catch up on streaming shows that I meant to watch years ago and never got around to, and or listening to podcasts. So I'm always doing something while I'm walking on the treadmill.
Okay. Well,
Other than read, I find that I can't read on the treadmill. It makes me feel like car sick, nauseous.
oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Well, so you've written multiple books in your series, obviously. So how do you keep things fresh and evolving?
Well, part of it is mining ideas from the news.
Oh,
There's, so much going on out there. And one of the books that I wrote, Guilty as Framed, which was the 13th book, I even incorporated the art heist at the Gardner Museum in Boston, which took place in 1990. And it's still unsolved. And I've always been fascinated by that. I've read a couple of books and newspaper articles on it. There were a couple of documentaries that I've watched, and I decided to incorporate the Gardner heist with bring it into Anastasia's world. And she doesn't find the paintings, of course, because the paintings are still missing. But that's where I got the idea for that book. So it's there's always something out there. It's the everything is plot fodder as far as I'm concerned.
that's a good tip because I'm kind of stuck right now in one of my books. So that's gonna make me raise my radar a little bit here and maybe I'll find the answer that I'm looking for.
I have a very thick loose leaf notebook that I keep of articles that I found in newspapers and magazines and printed off the internet, just for ideas that might work in a book at some point. And whenever I'm stuck, I'll pull that out and I'll start leafing through all of those pages to see if I come across something that'll work for me.
Well, that's great. That's a wonderful tip. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, all right. So, do you have a favorite supporting character or one that surprised you as you were going along?
I like the way Anastasia's relationship with Zach has developed. When I started writing the series, I did not know that they were going to develop into having a relationship and eventually get married. So that's changed. And also her relationship with Cloris, who is the food editor at the magazine and her best friend. That those are two relationships that developed as I was writing the series.
Are any of your characters based on real people?
Well, the mother-in-law.
Well, yeah, yeah.
My sons think that Anastasia's two sons are based on them. I have told them that's not the case, that Nick and Alex get along a lot better than they got along as kids. But I guess they're the idolized version of the way I wish my sons were, and but nobody is ever that way in real life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Does your mother-in-law know that she was that she's?
No, she died about, I guess it was a few months before Talk Gertie to Me came out.
I see. Okay. All right.
So no, she and I do have some relatives who have never spoken to me since I wrote about her. But my husband's sister thinks that she's a hoot. His brother thinks she's a hoot. So the ones who don't like her, so be it. Not everybody's going to love what you write.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. So, what's the hardest part of writing for you?
The hardest part of writing is marketing.
Oh, yeah.
I am not a salesman. I would just like to be in my writer's cave and write, and that's it. But, nowadays, even when you're traditionally published, a lot of the marketing of your book is done by the author.
Yeah.
So, that's what I dislike the most.
And so do you, I noticed, I couldn't believe it when I was looking at your website, how many awards you've been up for and have won. So that's amazing. How did you get into all of that?
Well, when I started out, I joined Romance Writers of America because I was writing romance. And they had a lot of contests for unpublished authors. And that was one way that you got your foot in the door, because the final judges for these contests were editors and agents. So that's how the contests all started.
Yeah, that was amazing. I just couldn't believe all the lists. I also really loved on your website your little questions where you answered just kind of your general information about you, like your favorite coffee and all that. That was so cute. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was really good. So when you finish your book, when you kind of finish your draft of your book, do you enjoy the editing process, or do you pass that off to somebody else, or what do you do there?
Well, I edit as I go on. I'm not somebody who writes a first draft straight through and then goes to second and third and fourth draft, because I'm always afraid that if I wait until I'm done with a first draft to go back and change things, there'll be something I forget to change. So when I'm writing, if I decide I want to change something, I immediately go back and make all the changes that are impacted by what I have decided to do. I do have two editors that I work with. I have a great critique partner, Donnell and Bell, who we've known each other for many, many years. She writes suspense, which, is quite different from what I'm writing, but we're very good friends, and we're the type of people that can critique each other's work without causing any hard feelings. And, she is great. And then Irene Peterson, who is a romance author, was an editor, and she's also a longtime friend, and she reads through my books when I'm finished also.
Very nice. That's great to have a community like that around you. That's really good. Well, looking ahead, is there anything new or different that you're excited to explore?
You never know. I'm trying to get my husband to go on a vacation because I'd like to write it off as a business
Oh,
expense. I can't seem to get him to agree to go anywhere. And now, of course, the airfares are so expensive.
yeah, yeah.
But, maybe eventually. I do have right now, if everybody is interested, Sorry Not Sorry, which is the which book? 13th, 14th? I don't know. It's a couple of books prior to the last one, is currently on sale for 99 cents. I have a book bub running and it'll be on sale through June 3rd. So if
Okay,
anybody is interested, they, for 99 cents, they could get a copy of the book.
awesome. So, and that's now they can get it on Amazon
Yeah,
or
and
okay.
on Amazon, Kobo, Barnes and Noble, and iBooks.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So then final question for you. So,
Yes.
all right. For somebody brand new to your books, where should they start?
I always think that it's best to start with the first book. Um, all of the books could be read out of order, but I think for the full enjoyment of the book, because I do have character arcs that go through the entire series, and the characters change, they go through growth, and if you start at the beginning, I think it's always a much more enjoyable experience than picking a book up in the middle of a series.
Okay. All
But you
right.
could
So,
do that if you want to.
but they should start with Assault with a Deadly Glue Gun.
Yes,
Assault with a Deadly Glue Gun. Okay.
that's
And
the
then
first book.
also, if they want to, follow you, get in touch with you, be in your world, where's the best place for them to do that?
Well, if they go to my website, they can sign up for my newsletter. Comes out once a month, and they will get a free Anastasia Pollack crafting mini mystery, a little novella, for signing up for my newsletter. I also blog on the Stiletto Gang once a month and on Book Lovers Bench every 6 weeks. They can find me there, and I'm always happy to converse with readers. They can email me through my website at any time if they want to chat. So I'm not on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of those places.
Okay. So website and newsletter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great. Okay. So, well, Lois, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. It really was
Welcome.
really
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it was really great. So, you guys, if you haven't checked out her books yet, definitely add them to your list because they're clever, they're cozy, they're fun, they're full of personality. So, I think it's going to be really great. And if you're interested in Reader Crate, Lois is in our next crate that's coming out, which we just were talking about, and Art and Alibis. And you can go to readercrate.com to sign up for that, and we would love to have you be a part of it. The Reader Crate this month is all about kind of art fairs and crafting, and of course cozy mysteries. So it would be really fun to have you be a part of it. So Lois, thank you so much, and thanks everybody for joining us. And I hope everybody has a wonderful night.
Thank you, Lissa.